today. As part of a statewide effort to increase the number of volunteer firefighters in New York, the 14th annual Recruit NY campaign is kicking off. Joining me this morning to talk more about what those recruitment efforts look like is the Firefighters Association of the State of New York Secretary, John D'Alessandro. Thanks so much for joining us this morning.
Good morning.
So tell me a little bit about the long history we've had over the past, you said 20 years or so, of declining numbers of volunteer firefighters.
Yes, unfortunately, over the last 20 to 25 years, we've seen a significant decline in the number of people becoming volunteer firefighters and EMS responders. Back in the early 2000s, there were about 120,000 volunteers across New York. We're down to somewhere between 75,000 and 80,000 now. At the same time, the number of calls that departments respond to, the complexities of those calls has increased. So you can see we're really being asked to do a whole lot more with a whole lot less.
Tell me a little bit about maybe what you all attribute this decline to.
There's a number of different reasons. You know, there are societal reasons. People today are much more mobile. Young people are more apt to move away from the communities they grew up in, you know, for a job or for school. There's also the factor of time. Many people are working more than one job these days, and you add on to family responsibilities, taking the kids to school events and sporting events, and people say we just don't have the time. But what we try to tell them that a volunteer department, which provides in the state of New York about 80% of the fire and emergency response is done by volunteers. But a volunteer department is unique in that there are many, many jobs. You don't have to be a frontline firefighter pulling a hose, you know, towards a burning building. You know, we are happy to take people of all ages, all shapes, all sizes. If you've got a skill set, if you're a bookkeeper, and you have a couple of hours to give to your volunteer department to help them with their finances, or you just like fundraising, we'll take everybody. We'll put whatever skill and time you have to good use.
So a big range of options here for people. They can learn more about these options at open houses that are being held across the state this weekend. Capital Region locations are participating. What are these open houses going to look like?
Well, if people go to recruitny.org, they can find all the open houses in the greater Capital District. But what we ask fire departments to do is to open their doors, put on demonstrations, take people on tours, let them wear some gear, let them ride in the fire truck. For two reasons. Hopefully we'll get some new recruits, but it's also to reintroduce their volunteer department to the community. You have to remember, volunteers are your friends, your family, your neighbors that rise to the call when there's an emergency situation. So, you know, we want people to understand what goes on behind those bay doors, and frankly, we want them to become part of it.
Later this morning at FASNY headquarters, you all are kicking off this campaign. What are you looking forward to as this year's effort gets underway?
Well, my hope is that anybody who has driven by a firehouse on their way to work or shopping and has the slightest curiosity or has had the slightest inclination about what it takes to become a volunteer firefighter, take a few minutes this weekend. Weather's not going to be so nice, so the, options might be limited, but take a few minutes, find an open house, go down, talk to your local volunteer firefighters. You may just find that it's the most rewarding few minutes you ever invest in your future.
Thank you so much for joining us this morning, and good luck with all the events you have this week.
Thank you for having us here.